Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are probably going to be talking about one of the most underappreciated cryptocurrency projects in the entire cryptocurrency space. Of course, I am talking about Chainlink, an enabler of this entire industry, and people still don't seem to get how important Chainlink is. So, what I'm going to be showing you in this video is exactly that, why it is so important. And we've been making Chainlink content for as long as we've had a channel. Chainlink for me was the first time that the broader application of a distributed ledger really sunk in. Chainlink with a DLT essentially came up with a way to incentivize the participation in a network of data. And it acts as an oracle to provide external data outside of the distributed ledger space into it, allowing it to execute the likes of smart contract functionality. And Chainlink's oracle was one of the first times I went, this technology is far more useful than just enabling Bitcoin. And since then, they've announced a whole load of things. They've conquered the industry. They are literally, or have a monopoly as far as oracle solutions go, across crypto broadly, 90+% coverage, or people use and utilize Chainlink's oracle situations. But Chainlink's also doing something exceptionally interesting in the sense that their CCIP is connecting the entire industry and taking it from a siloed kind of fragmented space, which is the issue with the banking sector right now, and connecting it so that a state across networks can be achieved. And it's not just doing that for the cryptocurrency space. In doing that, it's actually connecting the external world, the TradFi world, into it. And this can't be understated. They really are the dominant player in regards to this. And its price hasn't appreciated in the manner you'd expect it to, given the Goliath of a task that they are underpinning. But it will, in my opinion. We're just waiting for the quiet part to be said out loud. So, we've got a lot to do. We're going to be looking at what Paul Atkins had to say and how Chainlink is essentially enabling the future that Paul Atkins has greenlit. And he said, I'll find a specific quote from him. Let's dive over to his Twitter. That a new era is upon us, and he is looking to allow security rules and regulations to enable America's financial markets to move on chain. We're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars. We're going to look at one player that's responsible for $100 trillion and what they have to say about Chainlink, having partnered with them to enable this future. Paul Atkins has literally just greenlit. I mean, it truly is and cannot be understated just how monumental all of this is. But what I want to do first is look at the President's Working Group report. Now, there was a handful of cryptos mentioned. Some in the context, of course, of the kind of historic view of the space, which I'll just find for you right now over here. And then one that had its entirely own page was Chainlink. And this, I think, signals the fact that the President's Working Group obviously puts weight to Chainlink, but really the weight that it has, and it talks about it as an oracle network. It says oracles connect external data sources to blockchain networks. This enables smart contracts to execute on-chain agreements based on real-world prices and events. Chainlink is the whole reason we even have DeFi. I remember DeFi Summer, and I remember it was enabled by Chainlink because there was a problem that it addressed. And that was you couldn't get external data and bring it on chain. Blockchains are very good at keeping their own state, not so good at keeping the state of the world, up until Chainlink came along and has basically opened it up to the world, essentially. It's allowed access to data from the real world into these chains. And with that, you can literally do anything with them. Like revolutionize the financial system, which we know is coming, and Paul Atkins very much green lighting. Anyway, let's continue. Smart contracts make decentralized applications, or dApps, possible as tools for trading, lending, earning rewards, and other activities. Some dApps serve as cross-chain bridges which transfer asset or data across networks. Assets that exist on one chain and pass through a cross-chain bridge to be represented on another are referred to as wrapped. And the ecosystem that operates around dApps is broadly known as the decentralized finance, or DeFi. Some traditional finance, TradFi, institutions have explored using smart contracts to power new financial products or streamline agreements with counterparties. They often build these products on permissioned blockchains, which allow an administrator to control or reverse parts of on-chain transactions. Moving away from that, something like Stellar or others have, or XRP or Hedera have kind of clawback mechanisms and are fit for regulatory compliance when it comes to the securities market. Blockchain oracles. Here you can see what they've done is demonstrated how Chainlink works. So it gives some advanced blockchain applications, stablecoins, tokenization of USD, enables growing distribution of the US dollar globally, tokenization of funds, the asset management industry going on chain by tokenization of fund structure, decentralized lending markets, enabling solvent and transparent earnings of yield using smart contracts. The interesting thing is DTCC just demonstrated this, and I think Chainlink is one of the enabling factors because they need that data. So you've got data providers, financial institutions, government systems, interesting, e.g. regulators. Then you've got Chainlink, the Oracle network for orchestration. And you've got the public blockchain space and the permissioned blockchain space. You're talking about e.g. Ethereum, Solana here, or Kingsley by JP Morgan. It's important to acknowledge that blockchain technology and the opportunities it provides did not emerge from TradFi or Washington, D.C. Think tanks, conversations on the open internet forum and mailing list were the launch pads for figures like Satoshi Nakamoto to outline and debate core principles for a new decentralized system of trust. Throughout the report, there are references to original posts to anchor the topics discussed. I thought it was a good one, but Chainlink very much has its own page here, which I think is interesting. And just the other day, Paul Atkins announced Project Crypto. He says, thank you to A1 Policy for hosting me today to discuss Project Crypto, which will be the SEC's North Star. Wonder who that's a reference to. Links, comments in the description. In aiding the president in his efforts to make America the crypto capital of the world. We're at the threshold of a new era in the history of markets. Project Crypto is a commission-wide initiative to modernize the securities rule and regulations to enable America's financial markets to move on-chain. And they are moving on-chain. Chainlink is a key part in enabling all of this. I'm going to show you that right now. We're not going to go over to, this is the kind of speech, America's leadership in the digital finance revolution. Chainlink is literally a major part in enabling this. Literally a major part in enabling this. And let's show you that now. So what I want to do is refer to Dan Donay over at DTCC and what he's trying to do. So DTCC is the clearinghouse for the US stock market. So any securities transactions in the United States that take place, DTCC will essentially facilitate. And right now they're on T+1, and this is the kind of innovation of DLTs. They're looking to go to T+0 or T0, which essentially, so T+1 means settlements will take place within a day, or it takes a day to them to settle. With DLTs, they can happen basically instantly, but there has to be a number of components to allow that to happen. We're going to listen to what Dan Donay has to say in just a second. But Chainlink, I believe, is going to play a role in that, as signaled by this individual himself. But DTCC are $100 trillion under management. They're literally owned by a consortium of the largest financial institutions in the world. So they're essentially a DAO for the likes of BNY Mellon, Euro, you name it. DTCC is literally in the number one spot in regards to enabling this new era that Paul Atkins references there. Let's hear what they're doing, and then we're going to listen to what Dan Donay has to say specifically about Chainlink, and I'll show you some other links. Let's dive over into this.
Example, with real-world assets, this is now a very real disruptive force to traditional finance. And for example, in our case, our focus right now is bringing $100 trillion worth of assets that DTCC is responsible for on-chain. Many folks here may not know who DTCC is and what we're responsible for. We're the principal record keeper for the U.S. financial markets. So we are all publicly traded securities. We hold a principal record keeping role. We're responsible for T+1 settlement. We're owned by the major banks and institutions. So effectively, we're a DAO for the U.S. financial markets. We're determined T+1 settlement is not good enough. We're really looking to take advantage of real-time settlement from blockchain rails. And it's our responsibility to bring those assets into the market.
So they're a big deal. We know they partnered with Chainlink. We'll look at that just in a second. Let's now play a clip of what Dan has to say specifically in regards to Chainlink's role in doing what Paul Atkins is about to permission and the likes of the largest financial institutions are working towards. Let's listen to what Chainlink's role in is all of this. So this should cement how important Chainlink is and how valuable it potentially might be in the future. Let's dive into this.
Why Chainlink's role is so very important is we expect that there'll be many ledgers and there's a need to move value between the ledgers and especially the need to move data between ledgers. So ultimately, to get to true consensus, and remember, DTCC is the consensus model for US markets. We just happen to do it in now T+1. Ultimately, to do it in T+0, that means we need to get to common meaning. When transactions settle, we all have to know that they mean the same thing. And if our target is near instantaneous settlement, then data has to agree across all of these ledgers. And this is why our partnership with Chainlink is so very important, because this allows us to write data once and have it proliferate across all of the networks, to move value freely between whatever the best ledger technology is of the day, so that we can meet the high volume requirements that are coming. And we continue to innovate as ledger technologies grow.
I mean, need I go on? You know, Chainlink is literally enabling the future that we're moving towards. That's how much of a big deal it is. Okay, it needs DLTs to essentially allow TradFi to run on, but in terms of correlating it all together and essentially enabling it to work, just like it enabled DeFi to work through providing that consensus of data, it can't be understated. Its price doesn't reflect anything that it's doing, in my opinion, but it will, I think, and that's not financial advice. This is from DTCC. It says, bringing capital markets on-chain with DTCC. And this is from 2023, September the 21st. This is from May 2024. SmartNav pilot report, bringing trusted data to the blockchain ecosystem, conducted by DTCC, 10 industry participants, and Chainlink. So we've got DTCC, Chainlink, and participating firms: America Trust Custody, American Century Investments, BNY Mellon, Edward Jones, Franklin Templeton, Investco, JP Morgan, MFS, State Street, and the US Bank. I think the individual sat next to Dan Donay there, Nadine, actually came from State Street and then went to Securency and now DTCC. And here's an example of how they're essentially going to leverage Chainlink. The writing when it comes to Link, ladies and gentlemen, is on the wall. With all of these updates that we've seen since we last made a video on Link, we thought it was important to update you and get this video out. That's it from me. I'm going to love and leave you all. See you later, Link Marines. Hang in there.